Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Today, our subject matter is the science of eating or the science of food. And of course, we're going to do our mainstream minute and then any questions that may come up. I will answer questions that are relative to the subject. And of course, if there are any that are not, we can cover them in a future program or, you know, I would like to soon do a all question program, so that'll be coming up soon. So let's ask God for his grace, for us to have an open mind, for us to have the spirit to learn, to gather information, but also to have the desire to use that information. In addition, I ask for God's grace on me to remove my impediments, my ego, my arrogance, to be a clear vessel for your benefit and to help you on your health journey. So thank you, and let's get started. So who we got over here already? Sabila, Cheryl, X, and David. Thank you all for coming in. Denise, thank you for coming in. So again, today's subject is the science of food. Shaolin Soldier, thank you. And I'll be getting to your question today, brother. The question you asked last week. So stay tuned. Peace. Um, the first thing I want to get into today is Khalid. Thank you for coming in. The mainstream, your day-to-day choices, your day-to-day discipline and diligence with exercise and eating correctly and hydrating, that's what's going to maintain you and keep you from having any medical problems. And I think that the article is insinuating that if you drink tea, it will help you with that's fine, but there have to be caveats put on some of these things because yes, you can drink tea and it can help your HDL, but if you're eating meat every day and you're eating the wrong type of meats and you don't do the other things that are good for you, I don't care how much tea you drink, you'll still die with a medical problem that you could have solved. So that's the mainstream minute. I just want you all to kind of use that thought process as you're going, through health information, and also when people present things to you. A lot of us are in public or we're at work and we're in different environments, and people will say something about certain health things. I'm going to get in to some of that today as well. And you need to have some type of way to combat that information. And of course, we all know that the more knowledge you have of a subject is the easiest way to combat knowledge and be able to decipher whether the person is giving you good information or not. Aaliyah, thank you for coming in. Miss Tatiashia, I hope I said your name right this week. You told me, gave me credit last week. Renee, thank you for coming in. Tatiashia, hope I said it right. Okay, so the first thing that I want to get into, I just want to make a couple of comments and we're going to get directly into the program for today. I really want us to keep this on our mind today as we're listening. Your health, life, the world that we live in, trees, plants, air, animals, none of these things are random. All of these things are coming from a mind and coming from a thought process, right? The more I learn about health, the more I learn about the human body, the more I see it tied into nature, the more I see it tied into the universe. And so we can't think that there's some randomity to our life. There's something very specific. And of course, we're going to get into it. Archie and Kalila, thank you for coming in. So I want us to keep that in our mind as we think about how simplistic God's reality is. MGT Girl Letty, thank you for coming in. So, think about if you ever have had an animal, and probably that may be a little off, but if you ever look at animals in nature, they really have a very plain life. It's not a lot of difficulty factor, right? If you have a cat, they may chase a bird, they might chase, other type of small animals. They're going to eat some water, they're going to rest, they're going to play, they're going to scratch to get their claws, right, type of things. It's a pretty simple life. If you look at the way water is, H2O, and the way it acts in the body, and the way it acts in nature, and the way clouds are made and it rains, it's scientific, but it's very simplistic. And unfortunately, sometimes I think that we have been inundated with this idea that when we listen to people, they have to say all these grand words and have this astronomical vocabulary for us to be impressed. But a lot of times, the basic statements, like some of us have some older people in our family, like the grandfather or that uncle or grandmother or an auntie that just had a way of saying things very simple and plain, and you just think about it over and over and over again as your life continues to move and as you continue to mature, and then you see such great wisdom in those plain statements. Well, I'm saying that because today most of what I'm going to say is going to be, again, I got to give credit where credit is due, from the basis of this book. I have found no other teaching, no other book, no other writing that has given me such great results. And so that is the reason why I continue to talk about this book. And that's the reason why when we're talking about the science of health today, that book is the most profound book I've ever read, the most profound book I've ever experienced. And you got to give credit where credit is due. If anybody thinks that I have something great to say or something beneficial to help you, it's because that book and that man is so profound and so amazing. Every time I read it, I come up with something new. I come up with something more powerful of an understanding. So let's get into it. As I am going through today, I want you to understand that what I am posing today, from the perspective of food being a science, the science of food, that this is also where we're being tricked. We are being tricked by science that takes you out of how we should do the right things. Shirley X said the messenger mentioned about cooking fresh food daily. What is your take on it in book number 2? Yes, I'm going to get to that. Okay, so I messed your name up today. I apologize. No, sir. Lots of love. Tatishia. Tatishia. You did much better last week. I'm gonna get it right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I want to do is I want to show, we all know that we have senses in the body, sensors in the body, right? You have taste buds, you have smell sensors. We all know these type of things. And so when we look at how they work, sometimes it can be really amazing. See those green, all the green things there are nerves, but it's showing you the taste buds, it's showing you the smell sensors. And so we have to understand that when you smell something, it's not something ethereal. It's something you are smelling the actual pieces of that food. When you put something in a pot, if you pull something out of a bag, or you start, steaming up some water, you have little particles of that food that are going up into the air. And so that's what you're smelling. See, that's what a sensory organ in the nose looks like. That green is the nerve. It's actually attaching to pieces of food, pieces of whatever it is that you're smelling. So, also in the negative, if you walk in the bathroom, you smell somebody's unpleasant odor, you're getting pieces of that in you too. There's the tongue with all the different sour, sweet, different type of taste buds that we have in order to get the particular whatever we are trying to gather information on. So therefore, Facebook, you see over here, those are the green, as I was mentioning, and then you see the tongue and you see the nose over on sensors. Philip, thank you for coming in. Those sensors give us a little more of a scientific look at how we actually have it, right? So when you, man, mama's cooking something, or my wife is cooking something, or my husband's cooking something, man, that smells so good. What are you cooking? And they tell you what you're cooking. That smell that you got in your nose are the little particles that were in the air. And when you did that, you brought them up in there, right? When you put that something on your tongue, your sensors on your tongue are taking little pieces of it. You might not have finished chewing it yet. You may not have finished swallowing it, but little pieces of it are going on your tongue, and your tongue is saying, oh yeah, let me grab that. That's what it tastes like, right? And that's what we like to do. We like to have our food taste why we eat, what we eat. And it's something that I always say commonly is that, a lot of people say that eating healthy doesn't taste good. And I disagree with that 1000%, because my wife does a wonderful job of making our food taste very, very good. But she's a scientist. She is a kitchen scientist. She goes in there. If we go out to someplace and we eat, which there are not very many restaurants that she or I go to, but when we go, she will taste something. She may ask the chef a couple of questions, and she's going to come home and start sciencing with that and try to come up with her own and try to make it even taste better than what we got at that place. Alan Bolton, thank you for coming in. Said, Doc, love these teachings and how you break down the science of food and disease. Well, thank you, brother. I'm trying. And Michelle, thank you for coming in. So I want to show you all another picture that has a lot to do with the senses. So those of you on live, you see that picture right there in the dark. That's a picture of a person. If you can see it, you kind of see the hand is real big, the nose is real big, the lips are real big, the forehead is small. Look at this picture. Those of you on Facebook, you see that picture right there. The hand, see how the hand is big? See how the lips are huge? See how the tongue is big, the upper lip is big, but then when you see the ear is big, but then you look at the rest of the body, it's kind of small in comparison. So what is that picture talking about? That picture is talking about part of the body is more sensory associated than other parts of the body. So a lot of us, we know that if you are trying to pick your nose, I know this is crazy, but I got to use these examples because I want y'all to understand. You don't see people usually picking their nose like that, right? You see people picking their nose with this finger. Why? If you look back at this picture, you notice that the thumb, see the index finger, they're all big. Why? Because that's what you use to discriminate. You discriminate more with this than you do with that. You discriminate more with this than you can do with your elbow, right? And that's why when children are small, what do most of the time? They put stuff in their mouth, because the mouth is very discriminating. Like the picture showed, it had the lips real big, the tongue real big in comparison to other parts of the body, because that's how you discriminate things. You can put something in your mouth and discriminate it better than you could put it on your leg and discriminate it. I hope that makes sense. And so what am I trying to point out? I'm trying to point out the scientific reality of these bodies. This is not some random thing that was put together. This is high science. And so when you start talking about how do I take care of this thing that I'm looking at in the body, this machine, this body, this beautiful God-produced reality, we have to start to understand more of how to take care of that greatness that's in that mirror. So last picture out of the anatomy book is something that we have seen before, because I really want to get down to, again, the science of food. We're talking about this stuff first. See that? That's the way everything in the body works. You have little pieces that go and attach to another section. So anytime you are dealing with anything in the body, the communication goes, and let's say this is a tongue, right? So this is a tongue. These are the small pieces of food that attach to the tongue. If we're talking about the nose, these are the nose receptors. These are the small things that attach to the nose. If you're talking about a neuron, this is a communication. Small things move from one side to the other, and that communication went from, let's say, the arm to the shoulder. So everything in the body is high science. I hope you all are getting the point. So if you can agree with me where we are right now in saying that this human body is high science, then it would make sense to you that we have to understand and have some understanding of how to take care of this thing, this body, all of these interworkings that are going on. And so the main point of this today excuse me, is for you to understand more about how your body works, but also for you to start deciphering a lot of this stuff that's coming from the public, from so-called health people. And, there's so much on the internet that I go and I look and I just shake my head because I like, man, the typical person, the average everyday person doesn't know how to decipher this madness that these people are putting on here. But anyway, let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about the things that are common in society that people are eating that are not good for us. And I'm going to end with all the positives. Okay. So, number one, nuts. There's a lot of information out here that says nuts are good for you. Well, everything that I say, when I tell you something is not good for you, I'm going to give you a way to go evaluate what I'm saying. So, all of you nut eaters, I'm not going to call you a nut. I'm going to call you a nut eater. Okay. If you eat nuts in today or the next few days, go buy your favorite nuts in whatever way that you like them and eat them and chew them. All right. What I want you to do before you swallow, though, look in the mirror and look at the size of those pieces of nut that you have broken down with your teeth that you're getting ready to swallow. And then over the next couple of days, and I mean the next couple of days or a few days, because some of us haven't evaluated how long it takes food to come out of us. I have done that. And I want to suggest to you all, stop flushing the toilet before you look. You should look at the toilet, what color is your urine, and you should look at your stool. What does it mean when stool floats? What does it mean when stool sinks? What does it mean when stool is giving off gas? What does it mean when stool breaks apart and falls down and it looks like it all breaks apart? It's not solid anymore. All of those different things mean something different. I'm not going to answer that today. We'll get to that another day, but all of that means something different. You should know what it is. And so, what is it that you're looking for when you chew those nuts and you swallow them? You're looking to see if that nut came out of you the same way that you swallowed it. And so, based on the high science that I just finished showing you, we all should understand that if I chew something and I swallow it and it comes out of my butt looking the same way it went down my throat, your body can't digest that. That should be common sense. And the digestive system's purpose is to break things down so that we can get the microscopic things out of it, the things that we can't see with our naked eye. So that's the take on nuts. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and How to Eat to Live, this beautiful book, states that every time you eat nuts, you take 5 years off of your life. Now, why would he say something like that? Because if you can't digest that nut and it comes out of your butt the same way it went down, you know that nuts are hard. It's scraping and scratching your GI system all the way through. Not very good for you. The second thing that I want to get to is green foods. There's such a craze in the vegan lifestyle, and there's such a craze on the eating green leafy vegetables and all this kind of stuff. Well, again, I'm telling you that green leafy vegetables are not good. Collard greens, turnip greens, kale, spinach. You can eat spinach sometimes, but it's still not good for you. Look at your stool after you eat collard greens, turnip greens, kale, spinach, green lettuce, and large salads that some of these people, this place called Salata that I see people all the time eating these big old bowls of salad. Well, back to the science, back to the man that's giving me my ammunition. He says, do not make meals out of salads. He said, eat salads with cooked food. There's something very business oriented about green foods, but it doesn't give you great health. Some, we're going to get into those in a minute, but green leafy vegetables, no, you should not have that as a part of your main course on a day-to-day basis if you want good health. No. And so while I'm on that green subject, somebody asked me a question, and I want everybody to understand that when I speak, I have no intentions on getting to any debates with people or going back and forth. I'm sitting here trying to offer 22 years of experience in the reality of the medical industry that's taught from medical schools and hospitals and all that, and then to something different. So I don't get into a bunch of back and forth. I'm not going to argue with people, and I'm also not trying to put people down. If I say something and it's in contrary to something that you said whether it's on my post or some other post or in the comments. This is not any animosity. I just have to tell the truth. So all of you that do wheatgrass and spirulina and chlorella, sorry, it's not good for you. So what is the science behind it? First of all, there have never been any studies to prove that. What is the purpose of chlorophyll? Scientifically, the science of food we're on today, right? Scientifically, chlorophyll works in a chloroplast. A chloroplast is a unit in a plant that produces the sugar that produces food, and plant sugar in your body. So how does chlorophyll work in you? We're talking about science. The things that I'm talking about, I not only read, studied, experimented, but also have the proof because of what is happening to people that I'm working with. So again, I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm trying to give information. All of us are ignorant in some place. If I was to sit and listen to some of you in your, what I do every day, I think about health, I read about health, I study about health, I experiment with myself first, and then go look at other people and how it works in them. So the things that I say on here are not conjecture. They're not things that I watched or listened to somebody else say and do, and then didn't do my own reality to try to make sure that I believed it was right. God, Maria, thank you. Shaolin says this makes sense. When a person has an issue with like Crohn's disease, they aren't allowed to eat nuts. Is this true for blended nuts such as almond butter and peanut butter? Good question. Brother, I always got some good questions. Brother Shaolin Soldier, man, you always keep me on my point. I'm gonna get to that in just a second. So green things. This man, what wheatgrass, chlorella, spirulina, and things of that nature. I have never tried any of that other than chlorella. I took chlorella for a few years. I take that back. I was studying chlorella for a few years, and there were so many great things that were said about it. I got some and started taking it. And what I noticed was that small amounts and large amounts, I saw green stuff in my stool. And I immediately stopped it because I said, it doesn't make any sense. If this was good for me, why is it coming out in the stool? And the thing that was always on my mind is I've always been a big broccoli eater. Always loved Brussels sprouts. Always loved cabbage. Can't stand okra, so I don't eat that. I can't watch that come out my butt because I'm not going to eat that. But I've eaten green beans. And what I noticed was that it didn't make it. I mean, I used to sit and eat big old bowls of broccoli. I mean, huge bowls of broccoli. Nothing green in my stool. I've talked to a lot of people that eat a lot of okra. Never see anything green in your stool, no matter how much you eat. That is science, y'all. That is the way that we could look at our bodies, evaluate what it is that we're doing, and come to a conclusion that keeps you out of these marketing schemes. Because we could go to the internet right now and you will see thing after thing after thing after thing after YouTube a program, YouTube about how good taking wheatgrass is. Wheatgrass ain't good for no human. Sorry. There's no science to prove what these people are saying, but I bet you they're making a lot of money. So while we're on the science, an animal that eats grass, like a cow, like a buffalo, like a goat, like a horse, they don't have the same type of stomachs that we have. We have a stomach that's broken down in 3 different sections, but it's really just one function. You don't have a bunch of different functions in the stomach. But when you look at those other animals and their stomachs, they have different functions of the different aspects of the stomach. And most of the time, their stomach is in different areas. It's not all just one organ. I guess before we leave, I'm gonna have to show a picture of the stomach so you all can understand what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna do it now. So my point is this: that cows, horses, goats, and other animals like that, they do not break down grass. You know, you hear these people come on just some of these shows where they're talking about all this spirulina and all this wheatgrass, and they say, well, cows can break down grass. Have you ever looked at an animal like a horse, a goat, a deer, a cow have a bowel movement? You see grass in there. So no, they don't digest the grass. They have some of the enzymes to help them get some things out of it, but they don't break down the grass. The grass comes out of their butt. Their stomachs work by bacteria. They build up bacteria and they get the nutrients from the bacteria, the proteins from the bacteria, and that's what keeps those large animals large. But you don't have the ability as a human to break down anything that has cellulose in it. So when we're talking about eating green foods, can't break it down. And the higher the amount of cellulose in that plant, the higher amount of chlorophyll usually is in it. So chlorophyll is highly tied to a plant and what it's producing of the food and the sugars for the plant to live, but chlorophyll doesn't work in your body like it does in a plant. Now, am I saying that chlorophyll has no benefits in the human body? I can't say that. I haven't had any information on whether it does or it doesn't. But I know there are no chlorophyll receptors in the human body. And I'm going to get to some receptors in a minute. In just a few minutes, I'm going to show you the different type of receptors that we have in our bodies and the different type of foods that have these type of substances in them. And so I just want to show you the stomach real quick because I know we've seen it before, but I want you to have, okay, so there's a picture of the stomach. You see how it's just one. So here is where you swallow. It goes into, and you can kind of see it's kind of shaded, right? It goes into the stomach, and then this is where the food sits and just kind of goes back and forth until it's broken down, and then it comes out into the intestines. Well, a cow stomach, horse stomach, goat stomach, buffalo stomach, these type of animals, they have a stomach here, and then it can be pushed back up into their mouth so they can chew on their cud. But then they have a neck section after they chew the cud and it comes down. It doesn't go back into this; it goes into another section, and then it comes into another section. So they have like a completely different stomach. So we can't sit around and think that we can do the same thing that a horse and a cow, scientific, right? We're talking about the science of food. The God that we serve is a beautiful God. He made everything make sense. And so when you go and you study how a cow breaks down food and a horse and these other animals, you are not the same. Follow a paleo diet when you've never been a cave person. Atkins diet back in the day where people were eating all this protein. Your body doesn't mean meat, not protein, but meat as protein is going to give you some serious issues later on in life. It wears the body out, ages you, and it is not going to give you longevity. Okay. So again, we're on the science of food. There were a couple of questions I want to make sure I get to. Okay. So Brother Shaolin said, issue like Crohn's disease, they aren't allowed to eat nuts. Is this true for blended nuts such as almond butter and peanut butter? Absolutely. If a food is not good for you because of whatever qualities that it has that doesn't go in congruence with your body, even when you start trying to process it in another way, it still has a lot of problems. Now, what is that? There are such things called oxalates and phytates, oxalic acid and phytic acid, PHYTIC acid, OXALIC acid. So as a general thing, those are oxalates and phytates. Those are very high in certain foods, plant foods. They are to protect the plant until they mature, or actually sometimes protect the plant so that no animals, bugs, insects, and things like that will eat them. Now, in the type of foods that are good for us, we can heat that food and that will be eliminated. But there's some foods where the level of those are so high that even heating them and cooking them doesn't do any good. Nuts and green leafy vegetables are those foods. So even if you grind an almond, grind a peanut, grind a cashew, and make butter, they still have high levels of phytates and oxalates that deem it not undigestible. I already talked about being unabsorbable in your body. Oxalates and phytates are chemicals that are in the plant to protect it, but we can't absorb when those are in there. And plus they irritate the inside lining of the GI system and cause a lot of problems. So again, excellent question, my brother. Thank you for always being in tune and asking great questions. Deborah Tab McClendon says this is her first time watching. Thank you for coming in, and I pray that you are getting some news that you can use. So thank you for coming in. Oh, she says this is such an eye opener. Yes, ma'am. Denise asks, "What about moringa?" Same thing. You know, when it comes to things like moringa, I put that in the same classification as when people talk about acai berry or they talk about um, sour soap and some of these other foods that are in these other countries. We have to understand that we serve, and I want to be that don't believe in God. And so I'm not trying to put you down. If you believe in a universe, if you believe in whatever it is that you consider, as I said before, there's something very intelligent that made these bodies, something very intelligent that put this food out there for us to live a perfect and beautiful life by eating those type of foods that are in congruence with the body. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to use the word God because that's what I believe. But I don't believe that a supreme intelligence, the universe, or God would tell you that there's something that you have to go get from Africa to keep you healthy. Moringa is a beautiful plant. I've done a lot of research on it, but it doesn't grow in America. They're trying to grow it in America, but the climate just doesn't afford it to grow like it does in other places in the world. So you mean to tell me that God didn't mean for you to be healed here in Houston, in Michigan, or California, or Maine, or New York? Yeah, you're supposed to heal there too. Placebo effect. The placebo effect is powerful because, like I said, there are no chlorophyll. If you are drinking wheatgrass or eating wheatgrass and you're saying to yourself, this is going to help me, this is going to be great for me, this is going to do my body good, your mind is that powerful to make that happen. So it might just be how great your mind is. The placebo effect has been studied. If you all have never done any research on placebo, go look it up. Placebo, placebo effect. There are many, many, many studies that have proven that the placebo effect, meaning the power of your mind thinking that something can happen, can produce amazing results in your body. And so I've heard a lot of people say good things about alkaline water. I've heard a lot of people say good things about taking wheatgrass and spirulina. I never knocked them. But when it's time for me to speak the truth, I'm going to speak the truth. Alkaline water is not good for you. Nuts not good for you. Green leafy vegetables not good for you. And chlorophyll doesn't have a place to recept in the human body. Okay, so got to tell the truth, right? What about the green juices? Kale juice? No. If a food is bad, the juice is bad. That's just my philosophy. David says, so the salads that I prepare and sell are not good. Well, I don't know. I don't know what salad you preparing and selling. When I say I eat a salad, I eat cucumber, tomatoes, onions, avocado, little egg in there, garlic, bell peppers. That's a salad to me. If you're selling something like that, that's beautiful. That's absolutely wonderful. Sometimes you put sunflower seeds and things of that nature in there. But if you're selling salads and the majority of salad is some green leafy thing, no, that's not the best thing to give. So, make an adjustment and explain it to people. And then people can go do their own research. What gives you more energy? What makes you feel better? What makes you go to the bathroom better? So, there are a lot of things that we can do for ourselves to make sure that we are evaluating what it is that we do. Donita Lake, thank you. Alan says he is using the books 1 and 2, How to Live by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as a guide, so he just cannot and will not go wrong in the study and science of doing and explaining his breakdowns. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I started with that, and I'm gonna continue to say that this is the book that changed everything for me. This is the book that took me from an ineffective medical doctor that learned and was the best in his field. And this is what allowed me to help people heal. This is what allowed me to be a part of people solving their problems, getting rid of medications. So I would be a fool to sit up here and talk to you all like I'm doing now and try to act as if this is some great information I wouldn't found. No, that man taught me everything, just about everything that comes out of my mouth these days. Deborah Tab McClendon says, is any green veggie food good for you? If so, which ones? Excellent question. I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. Shaolin Soldier, you're welcome. Trish Smoot, thumbs up. Thank you, ma'am. Practical advice. Yes, I try to always give practical advice. And while I'm on that subject, with that great comment, thank you, sister. You know, some people tell me that, you know, when I talk and I break things down and put it in plain language, you know, that's my desire. That's my passion. I want to make sure that people understand. I want to make sure that people have the ability to not be tricked out here in this world that mixes so much falsehood in with truth. But I also want you guys to understand that what you hear me saying, although it may sound very simple, it took me years to get to the place where I can do this. And so I'm saying that because, you know, I met somebody not too long ago, and this happens on a regular basis. I was explaining to this woman who had a serious issue, and a matter of fact, she had a few medical issues. And after I sat down and started talking to her and talked about, you know, how to eat to live is what transformed everything that I do, she said, "Oh, well, I'll just go read How to Eat to Live." Well, good luck. But you all have to understand that years and years of studying, years and years of practicing medicine, years and years of studying this book and applying it and doing things is what helps me make it easy. And so, you know, I don't fault anybody for going and try to do it yourself, but don't think that you could read this book and get the same thing that I got of it at the same rate. It's going to take you some time, just like it took me some time. But you're looking at a man that has dedicated his life to the aspect of health for 30, 40 years, not just reading a book and coming up with some, you know, magical way. No, that's not how it works. Joyce Grady did a laugh. I'm not sure what that's about, but I hope that's a good thing. And if it is, good. David says, Dr. Joseph Spencer's book, You Are the Placebo. Absolutely. He has a book that's called The Placebo Effect. Excellent book. Wonderful book. Khalila Muhammad, please explain more on the alkaline water. I will. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. Donita Lake says, wow, speak on wheat. Yes, we're going to talk about wheat in a little bit. Are omegas in fish actually good for you? Absolutely. Danielle Muhammad said, are omegas in fish actually good for you? Excellent question. But as I said, meat is not absolutely necessary in the human body. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentions in How to Eat to Live that fish is the best thing. It's probably the only meat that we should eat if we're going to eat meat. Good point. Let me get to that meat. Let me just sidebar and then come back, okay? So understand this, that when you eat lamb and you eat beef, there are some good oils and some things in that meat that is good. Why? Because that animal's eating grass all day, which has some beneficial things in it for the animal, and some of those beneficial things wind up in the meat. Understand that every time you eat meat, you are eating a muscle of an animal, right? A muscle. So that makes sense that if you grab an apple and you bite into an apple and it starts to dissolve in your mouth while you're chewing it, you wouldn't be able to bite your arm and it dissolved that quickly, right? So you're biting the muscle of an animal. And so what an animal eats is what you're going to get from that food. So think about it. Chicken and turkeys. I'm not going to get into pork because all of you should already be off of pork, and that shouldn't even be something we are considering. So pork, but I think that in 2018, everybody should be rid of pork. I don't care how cheap it is. But a chicken and a turkey, which the medical community tells you to get away from beef and lamb and go to chicken and turkey. But what do chicken and turkeys eat? Each other's doo-doo, dead bugs, dead animals. You don't want to eat that, because if you eat chicken and turkey, that's what you're putting in your body. Dead stuff, bugs, doo-doo from other animals. Make sense? You are what you eat. So make sure that what you're eating is quality and the best quality. So the food that you should eat if you're going to eat meat would be worst quality beef. Next would be lamb, and then fish. Now, lamb and beef take a long time to digest. It's got a lot of work on your body. It's going to age you. 12, 14, 16 hours to break down lamb and beef, depending on the consistency, right? You eat a steak, take a lot longer than ground beef. Make this sense. Now, fish, what is it doing? Swimming around in water. Got to be cleaner than something that's walking around on earth. Make sense? Water is a cleansing process. So if you know the right types of fish, which are not the big ones, like you shouldn't be eating tuna, you shouldn't be eating fish that are bigger than 1 to 10 pounds. Honorable Elijah Muhammad says 1 to 10 pounds. Why? The larger a fish gets, the more tough that its meat is. So if you're eating shark and you're eating tuna and things of that nature, which is all over the store, and all these people that are so-called health gurus say it's okay to eat tuna, that's because they don't know. They haven't done enough research. They're just running off at the mouth. Because yes, you can get omega oils from a tuna fish, but it's so hard to digest it. The benefit that you're going to get doesn't outweigh the risk. What do I mean by that? So let's use an example like, let's say we're being very active, right? We're going to hell, right? That's what your body does when you eat food like kale and greens and nuts. All the work that it takes to break that down. In comparison to eating food that's good for your body. So thank you for the question, sister. Yes, fish is the right type of fish, have omega oils, but also understand in a little bit, I'm going to talk about that avocado, which is better with those omega oils than fish. Ronald Muhammad, how do you respond to this idea of eating up to 5 times a day to keep your metabolism working? Yeah, I've gotten to that a few times, brother. That is hogwash information. The number of times you eat, the type of food that you eat, and how often you eat has nothing to do with your metabolism. Your metabolism is based on the activity of your human body. If you are a sit down on your couch, sit down at work, sit in your car and drive all the time person, your metabolism is slowing because you are not activated. If you're the type of person that works on the 3rd floor and you take the steps, you go to the grocery store, you park all the way at the end of the parking lot so you can walk to the store, then walk in the store. When you go to Walmart, you park way at the end of the parking lot so you can walk to the store and then walk in the store. You have an active lifestyle. Metabolism is just a combination of 2 things, catabolism and anabolism. Anabolism is the buildup of the body. Catabolism is the breakdown of the body. That you can't change that with food. You don't change that by eating a certain food a certain number of times a day. You change that by the activity level of the body. So when you are very active, metabolism high. When you're not active, you gain weight. That's a sign of a slow metabolism. So 5 meals a day is going to kill you. There's no science ever that said 3 meals a day was good. That was business. And there's no science that says 5 meals a day is good. These people run off at the mouth and say things, and there's no scientific basis for what they say. Thank you for the question, my brother. Sabila says, praise God for you being that doctor that's coming out of How to Eat to Live books in 1 and 2. I would have nothing good to say to you if it wasn't. Anita Lake said lemons. We're going to get to that in a minute. Thank you for all the beautiful comments, all of you. Dr. Sabi, broccoli is not. Again, I'm not. Dr. Sabi, I've said this before. Dr. Sabi is a mentor to a certain degree. Dr. Sabi did some wonderful things, but Dr. Sabi and I sat together on a 4-hour trip from Houston to Philadelphia and talked the entire way. I met that man. His start was in How to Eat to Live. That's where he got his start. So, I have to talk about it another time, or you guys can go look at my YouTube video where I talk about my relationship with Dr. Sabi. But yeah, Dr. Sabi and a lot of things that he say, I don't agree with, because he started from How to Eat to Live, and then he went and started getting other information and started combining it with How to Eat to Live. So I don't agree with the things that he says, because he promotes nuts, he promotes smoking weed, he promotes green leafy vegetables, and he says some foods that are no good. And I agree with him when a food is grafted, when a food is made up of GMO and those type of, they aren't any good for you. But some of the foods that he mentions are in disagreement with How to Eat to Live and how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says. And like I say, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave me the ammunition to solve any and every problem that I've ever seen anybody come to me with. I never had that capability prior to reading and applying How to Eat to Live. Dr. Sabi has done some great things. Dr. Sabi was a very, very intelligent man, but where he differs with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I differ with him. And so broccoli, I won't disagree with you. That may be an altered food, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad doesn't mention it in How to Eat to Live. He doesn't mention broccoli. He mentions cauliflower. He mentions Brussels sprouts. He mentions cabbage, but he doesn't mention broccoli. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also mentions in How to Eat to Live that it's not good for us to eat grafted food. But he said some of them are bad for you, but some of them we can tolerate. And so the honest answer to your question, aside from fish, is there any other high sources of omegas? Uh, Avocados would be the best source of omegas that I would suggest. Flaxseed is very good. Just make sure the flax is either ground or chewed, because when it comes to any type of seed, the nutrients will not be extracted unless you chew them well. You can put seeds in your body and they'll come out your butt looking the same way. And a lot of people have a tendency to believe that that means we can't digest them. No, you just have to chew them well. The difference between a seed and a nut is if you chew the seed well, you will not see a lot of pieces of the seed come out of your butt. You may see some, but when you chew a nut and you look at it before you swallow, it's going to come out the same way. Okay, Theodis Carey, thank you for coming in. Al Malik Rasul, thank you for coming in. Carl Brown, thank you for coming in. Just go vegan and don't eat anything with a face. Well, I don't agree with the vegan lifestyle at all, but I've talked about that before. I think vegan is a big mistake. And while I'm on that note, inherent with veganism, they have some problems automatically across the board. So when it comes to the vegan lifestyle, again, I've done a program, so I can't get way into it. I don't have the time, but I don't agree with the vegan lifestyle. Most people that do a vegan lifestyle have problems with their calcium, have problems with their iron. They have problems with keeping their bones strong. They have problems producing their blood correctly. So all of those are scientific points to me that proves that the vegan lifestyle is not good. There are some good things about the vegan lifestyle if people are doing the research and doing things right. But the vegan lifestyle and the way it's being presented to the public in general is not going to give you longevity. You will wind up having problems because most people don't know what we're talking about today, the science of food. But thank you for the question, sister. Carl Brown. Brother, what about this 30% hydrogen peroxide? I dealt with another program, hydrogen peroxide. That is, I don't think it has any benefit. What about juicing greens like celery and broccoli? No, you shouldn't juice anything. Celery is good and broccoli is good to eat in your food, but juicing overloads the body with too much nutrients. Understand this. If you drink something, you're taking large amounts really quickly. When you chew something, the body is preparing it for the stomach. The chewing process is a breakdown. There's saliva that starts the process. So it's being prepared for the stomach. This is a very scientific machinery. You can't drink juice and think that you're getting good things out of it because it hasn't been processed correctly. Will you absorb some of it? Yes. Will it do your body good? Potentially. But how much wrong is it doing? How much is it throwing your body into abnormality and confusion? See, the more you confuse your body, the less it works optimally. I mean, think about it. How many of us can work optimally when we're confused? So when you confuse the body by putting all these nutrients in and it's not prepared, all this sugar, all these nutrients, all this stuff, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in How to Eat to Live that with everything good, there are also some toxins. So when you're chewing, you're killing some of those toxins. As you digest, you're killing some of those toxins. When you drink juice, you're overloading your body with a lot of toxins. Not good. How can you prove that? Do some research. Eat it versus drinking it. But I've also seen people do these carrot juice diets and their skin starts turning orange, sign that it's not good for you. I've seen people do green juice and start having their eyes turn green and their bilirubin goes up, proof that it's not good. So there's experimentation. When I talk, I'm speaking from How to Eat to Live, this monumental book that I have to give all the credit to, but also a lot of it is science and how I understand the body. And then I go and I experiment and I have other people experiment too. Juicing is not good unless you are so malnutritious and so in trouble that you need to do that to kind of get a boost and then go back to eating. It can be used, but on a regular everyday basis, I don't suggest juicing at all. Is it true that all berries are good for you? Absolutely. I'm trying to get to these questions because I gotta start talking about the good food. What about soy products? All soy products are bad. That's cattle food. Soy should not go in the human body. Have to do another program on that. Sister says soy wreaks havoc on the body. Absolutely. I'm gonna have to get in. I'm gonna have to do a double show. This is gonna have to be going to next week because there's a lot of good points. As I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take my time. I'm gonna stop rushing. I'm gonna take my time, deal with some of the issues that you all are bringing up. And next week, we're going to come back and continue answering these questions and get into this good food thing because I can't pass by this soy thing. Now, I've had plenty of people come to me and they are big soy eaters. And very similar to the vegan diet, when people do a lot of soy, they have problems producing their blood. They a lot of times have thyroid issues. And I'm not saying this is because the information out there. I'm talking about my patients. I've had plenty women who have anemia problems because they have heavy periods or they have thyroid issues. And all I did for some of them as an experiment, just take them off of soy, and everything corrects itself within 2 to 3 months. Soy is horrible. How do you feel about garlic? One of the best things you can put in your body. Excellent food, superfood. You know, don't get into all this madness about you got to go to Fiji Islands or that grow right in your region. And garlic and onion are two of the best things you can put in your body. If you eat garlic and onion every day, you are doing your body wonderful. Superfoods. Thank you for the question. So to restart or activate our metabolism, we should incorporate exercise. Absolutely. Or activity. Now, I'm not telling anybody to go and get a trainer and all that kind of stuff. Start walking. Walk every day. Stop pulling up in the parking lot of Walmart or your favorite grocery store and sit there until somebody comes out the store so you can get the first parking lot. That's a waste of your life. Stop taking an elevator when you're going 2 floors or 3 floors. You can take your time. Now you want to be sweaty and smelly at work, but take your time and walk up the steps. Activate your life. That's how you improve your metabolism. All of these people out here talking about eat foods and eat multiple meals, that is horrible information, and they're very ignorant. They're just spewing out what they heard somebody else say. No science behind it, none whatsoever. Daniel Muhammad, do you have any tips on shopping organic on a budget? We're a family of 5 and it's challenging always buying organic. Yes, ma'am. The best thing you can do is research food co-ops in your city. There's a website that I can post up on my Ultimate Wellness page for you to check out. But you can put your zip code in, and you can put the perimeter, 30 miles, 20 miles, 10 miles, whatever you want to do, and look up the food co-ops. Food co-ops is when people that actually have farms and growing their own food come together and they sell so that they can give people a more variety of food than what they only have on their farm. And it's usually a lot more economical and that's a very good point because, shopping at Whole Foods is expensive. You don't ever see Whole Foods in any neighborhoods other than, more well-to-do neighborhoods. But please don't believe you can go in Whole Foods and everything in there is good. There's a lot of garbage in Whole Foods. They sell pork in there. Did you know that? Chia seeds. I'm researching those. I can't make any comments when I'm ignorant. So give me some time and I will come back with the chia seed. Danita Lake says, okay. Sean Reynolds Muhammad, peace. Are almonds nuts? Absolutely, 100%. Wendy says vitamin nutrients slower from the fiber. Wendy Muhammad, please explain what you're saying because I'm not exactly sure, so I don't know how to answer that or respond to that. Thank you for that information about juicing. Yes. Everything you just said about the vegan diet is true. I experienced it. Thank you for that testimony. I appreciate it. That's God, my diet. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. But yeah, the vegan diet it's a fad. It's very popular because there are certain so-called popular people that have done it and got some benefits. Yeah, well, I could put some of you that are overweight, fat, and sick in my garage and feed you chocolate-covered dog doodle and rat poison. You're gonna see some changes. It don't mean it's gonna be good. Danila says, wow, juicing gives one a head rush. Yes. Alan Bowden, Dr. How to Eat to Live. Well, yes, that is very true. And there is, which book is this? Book 1. There's a statement that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad makes that I want to read to you all because I think it's paramount. As I always say, there's something very, 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 very profound about this being the only book I've ever seen, the only book I've ever read that says what? From God in person. Now, again, if you don't believe in God, I'm not trying to argue that. If you don't, call God the same thing I call God, I mean, that's okay too. But let's not just throw away this information and say that it doesn't make any sense. There's something very, very, very profound about this book. And I think that's why some of you are on here asking so many questions and you're so interested when I come on here to do this is because you hear something coming from me that's not coming from the average person. And I got to give all that credit to this book. So let's go into this real quick and let's hear what he has to say about mixing his teaching with something else. Page 48, book 1. We must not be confused, I repeat, with the various advice offered to us from the modern day food and medical scientists. And here we go back. I'm talking about food science today, right? He says the modern day food and medical scientists. See, this stuff that you are going in the grocery store and these restaurants and you're buying in packages and all that kind of stuff. These people didn't just put that stuff in there willy-nilly. That's high science behind a Snickers bar, high science behind ramen noodles, high science behind soda and juice and chips. High science. They're not doing that for your benefit, people. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, but let me get back to his statement. I repeat, with the various advice offered to us from the modern day food and medical science, if you take their advice and try to eat all the different kinds of foods, cook, I don't know what Sabila, I don't know what that other word is. That good to eat? Wheat, meat. Wheat is good, but meat is not. Yes, sir. I don't know if I'm gonna get that today, but I'm going to kind of go through here and kind of read the last comments. But look, y'all, we're going to have to come back next week because you all have answered some serious questions. And I'm going to respect your great points and your questions. So just understand, come on back next week and let's keep this going. I'm using garlic and onions on my hair. It works. That's beautiful, Trish Smoot, but also put it in your mouth, okay? I still incorporate some dairy, yeah. Dairy is beautiful. Dairy has a lot of vitamin D, has a lot of antioxidants. So dairy is good when it comes from the right source. Thank you, Danielle. No meat. No meat is good for you, but if you're going to eat it in a way that I just finished mentioning. Thank you for answering my questions. My pleasure. Whole Foods is trash. Yeah, there's a lot of trash in Whole Foods. You are right. You are correct. And so before I move on any further, I want to answer Shaolin Soldier's question from last week. He asked about at what point should you take your child and start putting them on how to eat to live as far as decreasing their meals? Well, excellent question, first of all. What I would tell every parent is that you know your child better than anybody else. So don't let somebody else act as if they're an expert on your child other than you. A child should eat when they're hungry, when they're small. When you feel like they've gotten to a place where they're mature enough and you see that they're starting to mature in their body, whether you think that they could eat 2 meals, then you should let them try it. But you also have to be wise enough and pay attention to them enough that if a child starts decreasing their meals and you see them sleeping more or not having as much energy, well, they're not getting enough food. So don't force them. I would say that all of us should pay attention to our children. And around 13 or 16, we should start trying to introduce how to eat to live as an idea to them and work with them as they do it. By the time they're 16, 17, 18, they should be down to 2 meals unless they're a professional athlete or, doing something so physically demanding that they just don't have enough energy. So that would be my answer to your question. I hope I answered your question, Charlene. Let me know, okay? How do you feel about canned salmon or salmon at all? Salmon is probably the best fish to eat with the benefits that it has. It's probably the highest source of vitamin D in fish. It is also very high in antioxidants because of the orange color of the flesh. I would say to you that it's better to get it fresh, wild caught. Don't ever buy any farm raised fish. Farm raised fish is horrible. Don't do it. Canned salmon should only be done if you can't get fresh. Anytime somebody puts something into a can, you don't know what the processing was. You don't know how long it's been in there. So try to stay away from canned foods. But salmon is absolutely good for you. Deborah Tab McClendon, thank you for the wonderful question. Let me see if there are any other questions I can get to. Excellent book. Been following for about 3 weeks now. Volume 1 and 2. Thank you for the insight. Absolutely, brother. Thank you for your questions and your interaction. Seitan. I have not heard of that. Sabila is a vegetable meat made from wheat gluten flour. I honestly don't know. You're going to have to send me a picture of that so I can evaluate that. Send me a picture of the front of it and then send me a picture of the ingredients and I'll take a look at that for you. Peace, God to you, Trish Smoot. Who else we got? Peace. So I think, what is the right source of dairy? I'm gonna have to get into that next week. My daughter is going through a growth spurt. She needs the extra. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. understand that children grow at night, and so we have to get out of this. And this is something that we have to grow into, about getting our children up early in the morning to go to school at a particular time. We have to get ourselves our own school systems and our own everything, so that our children are allowed to sleep. We wake our children up early in the morning. And sometimes they do stay up late, but even if they sometimes go to bed on time, they still want to sleep in the morning. That's because their body still has some processing to do. So that's a good point. Your daughter is growing, and when they go through a growth spurt, you know when it's happening, because they eat more than you saw them eat last month or last week. So yes, it's always important to pay attention to them, so you know what to give them and how to give them to them. Okay, so we went over a little bit, y'all, but again, excellent interaction, excellent questions, excellent points. Understand that I'm trying to give you news you can use, and the type of information that can help you on your health journey. I don't want to get into any controversies and arguing with people, all that kind of stuff, and we didn't do that today. And thank you all for tuning in. Next week, we're going to get back into the subject, science of food. Finish your questions, finish your points. And so until then, you all have a wonderful week. So remember that when your mind is on your health is on your mind. Good health takes hard work, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. So keep working hard. Until the next time, thank you for tuning in, and have a good week. Work hard for your health. Until I see you next time. Peace.